It's the Verve with Love Is Noise. This is Connect Radio. Good morning and welcome. I did say at the start of the show that we had to cram in quite a lot in the time that we have. And I'm a man of my word, which is why right now, if I was to say to you the name Richard Jones, would that mean anything to you? Because this gentleman won Britain's Got Talent in 2016. And in fact, he's the only ever magician to win Britain's Got Talent, and he's headlined West End shows, he's sold out tours, not only across the UK, but globally. So good morning, Richard. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. You do look very, what's the word? So behind you at the moment, it looks like it could be a set of Britain's Got Talent. Where are you? That can't be your home, surely.
Yeah, so in lockdown, I decided that the only thing to keep me sane through the isolation was to put together some shows. So I converted a room in my house to a little studio. This is just in my spare room. And I put all the lights in and try to make it as dramatic looking as possible so that now I can do Zoom shows. So, yeah, that's why it probably looks a bit overkill, to be honest. But,
and is that piano behind you? Is that there for show or can you actually play it?
I do actually play the piano, yeah. So I play for many, many years. I don't play as much anymore, but it's probably more for show than for playing. But I do play a little bit.
You've made a rod for your own back here. Any chance of a little tinkle on the ivories? Is that allowed, or have you not warmed up yet?
It would be embarrassing to play something off the top of my head, to be honest. I'd probably save you the embarrassment for that one. Maybe next time.
It seems like such a long time ago that you won Britain's Got Talent. It was in 2016, wasn't it? That's flown by.
It was, yes. It has flown by. And you know what's made it feel even longer ago, though, is obviously been in lockdown. Obviously, up until March 2020, I was so busy that it was kind of difficult to really think about the fact that it was so long ago now. But then now, since lockdown, obviously my main show stopped. It's kind of now dragged. So the last 2 years feels like a lifetime of since I've been performing properly.
You had a career before that, so you're still in the armed forces and you've been entertaining the troops for a long time. So let's cast our minds back to 2016. What made you want to audition in the first place? Because surely you hadn't got much free time on your hands to start with.
You know what? I was very, very lucky that. So I'm in the Band of the Household Cavalry. I've been in the army now for 10 years. And I was very lucky that because I was always traveling around the world with the army and I was always with a big team of people, there was always a captive audience for me to try out new tricks on and new ideas. And they were very, very supportive. And over the years, I gradually started doing bigger and bigger effects. And then eventually I asked my boss if I could go and do the audition for Britain's Got Talent, which was only a few days away. Britain's Got Talent only gave me, I think it was 3 days notice to go up to Liverpool to audition in the theatre there. And I was actually supposed to be performing music. I'm a trombonist in the bands. We were supposed to be playing music for the Queen that day at Buckingham Palace.
As you do, obviously. As you do.
Yeah. So obviously it was an important gig and I didn't expect to get it off. But luckily my boss was super supportive and he straight away didn't even question it. He said, absolutely go and do it. And yeah, the rest is history. So I owe him a lot.
That's amazing. So part of the Household Cavalry, you would, I guess, be involved in these big events such as the funeral of Prince Philip. Is that an opportunity? I mean, do you apply to be in that group who do it, or are you selected? How does that work?
So actually, the Corps of Army Music has loads. I think there's about 16 bands within the British Army who you see. Some of the guys you see in reds with the big bearskin hats in London. We're the guys who are on the horses. So it's a little bit trickier to get into this band because you have to do 6 months learning how to ride a horse and then learning how to ride a horse and play the music within the band at the same time. So it's a lot more complicated to be in this band, but it is one of the most incredible experiences because we do all the big fancy occasions. So every year we do Troop in the Colour. And I always tell people there's nothing that gives you more of an adrenaline boost than when you're going down the Mall outside Buckingham Palace on the Queen's birthday and you've got thousands of people lining the streets, waving flags, cheering. The Queen's there and we're on the horses. And it's just the most amazing feeling. I'm very, very lucky to be a part of it.
It makes the hairs on my neck stand up, just you talking about it. So how it must be for you being involved in such an incredible thing. Now let's move on then to Britain's Got Talent. So you auditioned, you got through. The auditions that we see on TV, are they genuinely the first auditions? It's the first time that you audition, or are they sort of production auditions before that?
So I actually, the first televised audition that you saw of me, that was in Liverpool in front of the celebrity judges with Simon Cowell and everyone. But before then, I had to go to, it's a long process. I went to the XL Centre in, I think it was October time, which would have been 2015, October time. And you queue there for what feels about 8 hours of queuing. And but it's great fun because you meet some of the world's wackiest and most exciting and interesting
I can
people
imagine that, yeah.
And so then you audition for for some producers there, and if they like you, they give you a golden ticket, which in reality is just a white piece of paper with a tick on it. And if you get that, you then go and queue in another line, which feels like another 8 hours of queuing for a second round on the same day with some different producers who I assume are more senior. And then once you've done that, you don't hear anything. And I didn't hear anything until February, so I just assumed, okay, I didn't get through. There's no big deal. It is what it is. It's fine. But then it was then in February, it was on I think it was on a Tuesday, they called me and said, okay, you've got through to the first televised round. Can you come to Liverpool on Friday? So then that's when all hell broke loose, and I had to really rehearse and figure out what I was going to do for the televised round. So it's very last minute, the calls you get. So if you are auditioning, be prepared to just turn up
Which
in 3 days.
I suppose begs the question, when we see them televised, there's some awful ones. There's people who can't hold a note. There's people who can't dance. I wonder why they get through then, because if there is quality control at the start, it makes you think that actually, are they just being put through for, I suppose, a laugh? But regardless of that, you move through the rounds, and I was watching it back actually because I was watching it back last night, and I watched it again just before you came on, your final audition in the finals of 2016. And it was so emotional because what you did was a card trick about a soldier who was almost doing what you were doing during World War II. He was called Fergus. Was he 97 years old or 95?
He was 97 at the time, yeah.
He looks well. He looked brilliant. Sadly, did he die a few years after that?
Yes, it was a couple of years after. And actually, when I went back to do Britain's Got Talent, the Champions, which was 2019, I did a tribute to kind of finish that story. So obviously, since I won the show, most of the messages I get are people wondering how Fergus is, or how's he getting on. And then obviously when he sadly passed away, I felt like I needed to finish that story and let people know that, okay, yeah, he has passed. So the BGT Champions routine that I did was kind of a dedication and a thank you to him. And it also highlighted the fact that he did pass away so people know his story. But he was the most incredible guy. So just a quick, I know we probably don't have enough time to tell his story.
No, we do. Course, fine. You talk away. You talk away.
So the reason he was so incredible is, so he was actually captured in World War II. He was a Japanese prisoner of war in Singapore, and he used magic to help survive. So basically, they were treated like vermin in the camps. They were treated very, very bad, very little food. But when they found out Fergus could do magic, he would do little tricks for the guards occasionally, but he would try and involve food. So, for example, if he had a little object, a stone that he'd make disappear, he'd point to a tin of sardines that the guards might have, and he would get them to open it up, and the stone would be inside. And the reason he did that is because he knows that then they wouldn't want to eat those sardines because he's tampered with them. So they would usually just give them to him. And he did some tricks with bananas and all sorts of different stuff where he would then get the food to share with his friends. So not only did that help, but also keeping the morale high within that camp was obviously a huge, important thing for people in the most extreme circumstances to witness magic. Would have been incredible. And obviously, what I do is nowhere near on the same level of importance as that. But what I try to do now is every year I go to visit some troops that are stationed around the world somewhere where they're pretty much forgotten about, and I go over there and do some shows for them to give them a bit of a boost in morale. And they're always the best shows, always the most appreciative audiences, without a doubt. So that's probably what I look forward to most.
We do forget about what it must have been like. I mean, for soldiers now, it's dreadful in these battle zones and risking their own lives. But back then, people like Fergus, who they didn't know how long this was going to go on for. They were having friends dying around them. They were saying goodbye to their loved ones, and they didn't know if they'd ever see them again. And when you see these veterans, they just, quite rightly so, they command so much respect. And even on the TV screen, you saw Fergus, and it was a person such as Simon Cowell who commands his own respect. It was almost a case of, right, back down, Simon. Here's the real hero. So you went on to win it, and it was an incredible performance. You can see it on YouTube. Go and have a look. Just search out Richard Jones Final, and you'll see it. It was very, very moving. And lockdown will have caused, we talk a lot about musicians, how it's affected them, but for performers in general, such as yourself, you've been doing magic online over Zoom, but it can't be the same as a live audience.
It's not quite the same, but interestingly, I find it has a unique place, and I feel like even when live shows now go back to normal, I feel like I'm still going to occasionally be doing virtual shows, because there's a number of things that I realized a bit late on in the game. So early lockdown, I decided that virtual shows probably wouldn't be as interactive and as intimate and as nice as I would like, so I didn't do them. But then after about 4 months, I decided, all right, I'll give them a go. And when I started, I realized that, if anything, it's almost more personal than a live show, because I can see everyone's screens. It doesn't matter if there's 10 people or 3,000 people. I can see everyone. I can see them sat smiling in their own houses. They can see me in my own house. And I can involve individuals from wherever they are in the world. And I realized that's a unique thing that I can't do in a live show. Lots of my following is in America and the Philippines and India and in places where my typical UK tour show, obviously, they won't be able to fly over just to see my show. But what's lovely is during the lockdown is I've got to perform for people who would probably never have got to see my show in the real world. So it's worked out really well. I've managed to connect with much more people, to be honest, from places that I would never have probably had a chance to visit. So there is something very nice about it. And also I feel like it's been so important, these kind of shows during lockdown, because everyone is so much more isolated and everyone has been having a slightly more difficult time in general, not being able to see friends and family. So I think that has helped connect people. I like to think it's helped connect people, and it's definitely made me smile during the lockdown. So hopefully it's made some other people smile as well.
And you're going off on tour, aren't you now? So tell us about that and how we can keep updated and buy tickets. And whilst you're thinking about that, is there any chance that we can have a little example of some magic? Now, we are putting you on the spot here because we didn't mention it. So by all means, say no if you haven't got anything planned. But if you have got some cards, because we're recording this, so we'll put it up on our Facebook page in the next 10 minutes. So first of all, tell us how we can see you and where your tours are and how we can buy tickets.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, so I'm going back on tour now in October. So I'm going all around the UK in October, and also there's a few dates in February next year that we just couldn't rearrange for this year. But really looking forward to it. It's my show that's called Escape, and it's all about the breaking the limits of our minds. So it's very audience interactive. It's a family show, obviously. Any ages are welcome. And yeah, I can't wait to get back onto it. So richardjonesmagic.co.uk is my website. If you go on there, all of the dates are on there. So I'm very excited about that. Hopefully I'll see you all. And I will be in the foyer after the show to say hi to everyone. That's probably what I miss most about live shows is getting to meet people after and have a good chat and see what they thought of the show and that kind of stuff. Okay, in terms of...
right, here we go.
Prepared, I didn't realise we'd be recording the Zoom as well, but that's great. What I'll do is... anyone who's just listening, make sure after I've done this trick, obviously go over and watch the Zoom, obviously, because otherwise you'll have no idea what I'm doing. But we'll try and talk you through what I'm doing. Okay. Now, this is the real reason any magician becomes a magician. Now, if you ask most magicians, why did you start magic? Why did you learn magic in the first place? They'll always tell you, I do it because I love seeing the look of wonder in people's eyes and I love making people happy. Absolute nonsense. This is the real reason. The real reason is because as a magician, you'll witness at some point someone else take some paper like this. I've got 5 lottery receipts here. those of you just listening, make sure you come over and have a watch of this in a minute. We've got 5 lottery receipts. Hopefully you can see these.
Okay.
Now, when I was young, I saw a magician do this, and that's when I knew I've just got to be a magician. He gave these little slips of paper a little spin like that, and each one turned straight into cash, just like that. And that is the real reason any magician starts.
So, well, you'll be able to see this, as we said, on Facebook and YouTube, but just to describe, because it's not up there yet, it's not live, but Richard has just turned some official national lottery tickets he had in his hand into £20 notes. And I was purposely watching the hand that I shouldn't be watching, because I always think, well, there's something going on with the hand that you aren't meant to be watching, but I couldn't see anything there. And I will go back and I'll fast forward it, I'll rewind it, but I'm sure I still won't be able to see how that is done. Thank you, Richard, so much for everything you're doing with your magic, but also for protecting the country as well for all that, because without people like you putting your own lives at risk, we'd be in a terrible place. So thank you very much. And just give it a plug again, your website and the socials. How can we find out where you are and come and see you and buy tickets?
Yep, so I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and also YouTube under Richard Jones Magic. And my website is just richardjonesmagic.co.uk. And yeah, I'm going on tour in October, and I would love to have you with me. So if you can make it, come along and get involved. Thanks very much.
And if you can turn any random piece of paper into cash, you must be rolling in it.